From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger, and we're taking a look at that radar here. And the rain, as expected, started to develop here from west, and it'll be working its way eastward here into the evening and overnight hours. So eventually some sprinkles, light showers for the valley, and then that will get heavier as we go into the overnight and early morning hours. So the cooler and unsettled weather pattern, it has arrived. Tonight, early tomorrow morning, really through the day tomorrow, that's the main event. That's when we expect the heaviest rainfall, the strongest winds, and even snow, but pretty high snow, above 6,000, 6,500 feet. And this cool and unsettled weather pattern, it's going to stick around for a while. All right, so let's get into our Krueger's Quickcast for your Wednesday, November 12th. Just a quick look at your forecast for tonight and through the day tomorrow. Tonight, it's going to be wet for most of us. I'd say the eastern mountains in Modoc County are going to have to wait until tomorrow morning. But otherwise, 40s for most of the higher elevations and 50s for the valley and for the coast. Out the door tomorrow morning, pretty wet for everyone. I'd say drier conditions will most likely be in most of the eastern mountains and into Modoc County, but wet weather pretty much anywhere else you go, and also gusty winds. So there's a storm system off to the west. It's approaching, and that's what's going to give us the cooler weather, the wet weather, and of course the wind. All right, so let's take you into the overnight hours. By midnight tonight, the heaviest rainfall is on the coast, but really overall, the valley, some light showers, but dry just to the east of that. Then we take you into the early morning hours. Let's take you into 6 a.m. Now, one thing I want you to notice is where that main stream of moisture is. It's in the valley and west, just west and east of the valley. So Trinity County, and then, of course, just trying to work its way into parts of the eastern mountains and into Siskiyou County. But look at the coast. The coast is actually looking at fairly dry conditions, drying out at this point. Still not much rain, though, for Modoc, Lassen, or eastern Plumas County. Now watch what happens as we go through the morning to around midday. You see how it all just kind of sits right there in the valley and just west and east of the valley. So I do expect to see kind of that steady light to moderate rain throughout the morning hours, especially for the valley and just west and east, and of course working northward into parts of Siskiyou County as well. But western Trinity County, Del Norte, Humboldt counties, not much going on there, right? And yeah, we're going to see some showers for Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties, but not much just yet. But then going through the afternoon, that shifts eastward, and now the heavier rainfall is in the eastern mountains in Modoc County, and drier for the valley into the west of that as well. And then we go into Thursday night, some leftover showers, especially over Plumas County, and then things actually start to dry out for Friday and Saturday. Now the winds, they're going to be picking up as well. I'm expecting about 35 to 45 mile an hour gusts. Some areas could see over 50 miles per hour. And even though the winds will be fairly strong on Thursday, they should subside as we go into the second half of the day, and especially for Thursday night. So for tomorrow, on your Thursday, temperatures low 60s. It's going to be wet, especially for the first half of the day in the valley, wet for the second half of the day for the eastern mountains, and fairly dry for the North Coast and even Trinity County for especially the second half of the day. Taking a look at that 7-day outlook. As I mentioned earlier, this 7-day outlook is going to be changing day by day. But for now, it looks like Friday, Saturday will be the driest, as well as next Tuesday. Otherwise, look at the cooler air. Although Saturday, a spike in the temperatures before they go right back down again. Now for the coast, inland, and for Trinity County, also the off and on chance for rain with those cooler temperatures. And that's the case for Mount Shasta, Alturas, and in the eastern mountains, drier conditions for your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some showers, and then maybe drying out again for next Tuesday. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our deeper dive forecast, sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
All right, so we take a look at that satellite image here. You can see the storm system. It's really beginning to take shape. We've got this spin right here. You're seeing the classic comet shape. Now what's going to happen is this will continue to kind of move eastward and then down and really impact Southern California. Now it's the placement of this that's really going to determine what happens after Thursday. because as it stands right now, things look dry for Friday, Saturday. However, if the area of low pressure decides to shift a little bit more to the north, that could change things. But overall, this is what we have in store for us tonight and through the day tomorrow. So I'm going to start with the long range because I just want to show you the overall trend. That's what I was talking about. You see this low pressure? You see how it's kind of diving to the south. Now, if this decides to stay a little bit more to the north on Friday, the flow around that low could bring in some of that moisture. But for now, it's a little bit too far to the south for us to see any of that rain. So that would leave us dry on Friday. But stay tuned because that could change. And then we go into Sunday, and it looks like we are seeing the next system coming in late in the day Sunday, into Monday with more wet weather. And at this point, I think Tuesday should be looking at drier conditions before maybe another shot of some rain by the middle to the latter part of next week. So that's what I was talking about. This cool and unsettled weather pattern is going to stick around for a while. So we walk you through the timing with the system for tonight. Now, we saw a bit earlier, midnight tonight, most of the rain is basically for the north coast, Del Norte and Humboldt counties. Some light showers east of that, but fairly dry. Last in Plumas and Modoc counties. Let's take you to 8 a.m. You see that heavy rainfall? Now the rainfall is pretty heavy for, it's moderate, light to moderate, let's just put it that way, in pockets and periods of heavy rainfall. But the flow is coming almost due south. So what you'll notice is throughout the morning hours, it's going to be this general area right here that's going to see the most amount of rainfall through the entire morning. But look at the north coast. You're looking at drier conditions already by 8 a.m. But notice as we take you through the morning, look what happens. You see how we said this constant flow of moisture through the morning to midday with that wet weather. So I think we're going to see some pretty steady rainfall for this area through the entire morning with light to moderate rainfall and periods of heavy rainfall. And keep in mind, it's also going to be quite windy during that time frame as well. But I mean, look at Trinity County, westward, still fairly dry. And really, yes, some showers pushing through some of the eastern mountains, but nothing quite that intense just yet. It's through the afternoon that this will push eastward, drier conditions for the valley by late in the afternoon. Still dry to the west of that, and then of course you've got that heavier rainfall off to the east. Notice too, the blue, that's the snow. You have to go up pretty high in elevation before you really start seeing that snow, so travel concerns will mainly be the wet roads, maybe the potential for mudslides, rock slides, right, because of that heavy rainfall in some areas. But look at Friday morning. This is what I was talking about. Fairly dry. And this model wants to pick up on maybe some afternoon convection on kind of either side of the valley, and maybe even in the valley. But for now, I'm going to keep it dry. I'm going to wait to see if that actually is consistent with tomorrow morning's forecast model run. But Saturday morning, look at that. We're actually clearing the skies out. Some high clouds for Saturday afternoon, but dry. Then look at this. Sunday morning, you're looking at 8 a.m. Maybe some fog, by the way, developing for parts of the Sacramento Valley. We'll have to be on the lookout for that on Sunday morning. And there you can see some more clouds kind of surrounding the valley as well. But the main band of rain is here off to the west. That pushes eastward. So Sunday, I'm giving everyone a chance for showers, but it's probably going to be later in the day, and then it'll probably continue into Monday as well. So let's take a look at the forecast rain totals at least through Friday, and really most of the rain will be tonight and through the day tomorrow. Now notice the valley is seeing more rain than the coast, and quite honestly, I agree with that, because you saw where most of the rain is through the morning. But I don't agree necessarily with these numbers. I'd say we're going to be closer to 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain, especially if we get that steady flow of moisture through the morning hours. And then you can see we're going to get some of that orographic lifting, and probably even more for the mountains north of the valley and into Siskiyou County. And then with that steady flow also, we can see some of that orographic lifting over here, giving us some heavier rainfall. But as we typically see, less rain as you head off to the north and to the east. So kind of interesting seeing some of these numbers. Snow totals. Check this out. Remember yesterday we saw a lot more blue on the map, but for today, the forecast models are really backing off. And the reason being is snow levels will probably be above 6,000, 6,500 feet. So not as much snow. Not concerned about chain requirements or snow on the mountain passes, but with the heavy rainfall, we could be looking at the potential for some rock slides again. So just kind of be aware of that. So that will be the bigger concern. And if you are heading down into the Sierra, yeah, that's where you're going to be running into the potential for some chain requirements, especially Thursday into Friday. We could see 4 to 8 inches of snow, possibly above 6,000, 7,000 feet. And then above 8,000, 9,000 feet, you're talking 1 to 2 feet of snow for some of those highest mountain peaks here. So just be aware of that if you're going to be heading down to the Sierra here, as I mentioned, for Thursday, Friday. Wetter than normal conditions are in that longer range. No big surprises there. The winds, again, we're mentioning that overnight into tomorrow morning, some of the strongest winds, 35, 45 miles per hour, and then they start to subside going into Thursday evening, but still gusty. Friday morning, a little breezy, depending on how close that storm system moves, but we're going to be looking at calmer conditions, especially for Friday afternoon, and Saturday, not looking all that windy either. So it's, again, just mainly tonight and through the day tomorrow. This is looking at the peak gust. That is going to be kind of forecasted peak gust through 5 p.m. Thursday. There's that 35 to 45 mile per hour range. There are a few spots that I think could possibly reach that 50 plus mile per hour range, and the potential for power outages are there, but I don't think we're going to see quite as many downed trees and power outages as we did with last week's storm. All right, so let's take a look at the temperatures. Yeah, I mean, once these colder temperatures settle in, they're going to settle in for a while. Minus one little spike that we'll see on Saturday, and you'll see that on the 10-day trend. You see, the temperature normal is about 66 for Redding. We're below that for Thursday, Friday, but there's that spike on Saturday, but then back in the upper 50s to low 60s for the second half of the weekend and through all of next week and even into that next weekend. And really looking at the potential for some wet weather going through next week as well. Wave height still fairly high. There is that gale warning for tonight and possibly even into tomorrow, but I do expect those wave heights to drop as we go into your Friday. Here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Well, of course, those temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 50s for Trinity County. Should be a cooler day. Wet weather through the day on Thursday, but clearing by the time we go through the afternoon. And then, of course, we won't go into too much in those 7-day forecasts because we just kind of went through the timing of all that. But you get the idea. Temperatures are going to stay cooler even for the coast. I put the word chance in there for the coast and, of course, the inland areas. Morning showers, but drying out really through this, especially for the second half of the day. For Siskiyou County, sponsored by Dignity Health, temperatures upper 50s, even some low 60s in there. Windy and looking at wet conditions. We're going to see some showers through the morning, but the heavier rainfall coming in through the afternoon tomorrow. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for your daytime highs. Same story for the eastern mountains. You're going to be looking at some light showers through the morning, but then in the afternoon, that's when the heavier rainfall kicks in, and some gusty winds too. Now your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast to the south, rain will be heaviest through the morning hours. In fact, we're going to be looking at that steady rainfall through the morning hours, and then by the afternoon should start to dry out a bit. And then we keep it dry for the most part for Friday, Saturday. Now again, we're going to have to watch for that potential for thunderstorms Friday afternoon, but that's something we'll be watching closely. Sunday, another shot for some showers late in the day, lingering into Monday, and then drying out Tuesday. And then possibly more wet weather by next Wednesday with temperatures in the 50s. All right, let's take you up to the north. 61 for Anderson as well as Red Bluff, 61 for Bella Vista, 60 for the city of Shasta Lake. Same story here. You've got wet weather through the morning hours and then really looking at that steady rainfall through the morning on Thursday. And then things start to dry out by the afternoon. Now on Friday, mainly dry. Dry on Saturday with a high of 72. Gorgeous start to the week. And really Sunday, I think you'll be dry for the first half of the day, but by Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, maybe a chance for showers entering the picture. That could continue into Monday, drying out Tuesday. Yet another shot at some showers by next Wednesday. That is your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning with the latest forecast between 5 and 6 a.m. and live on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. Have a great night.
When you see flashing lights, someone's life depends on us.
And while we're out helping crash victims, we need your help to keep us safe. Move over, slow down, it's the law, it protects everyone.
Our crews are out here every day, keeping the roads safe for you and your family.
We're often the last ones on scene, and we want to make it home safe too.
Protect those who protect you, slow down and move over.